We have a Miami Dolphins free agency update on Asante Samuel Jr., Julian Blackmon, and Brandon Scherff. I am Nic Rohloff. This is Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. These are players that I would label as my top targets at positions of need for the Miami Dolphins. So far in free agency, after everything Chris Grier has done, it is obvious that Miami still needs a left guard. They still need another safety. They need a CB2, and they need some help on the defensive line. Well, we've talked enough about Calais Campbell, and I wanted to provide an update on these three players because as we go throughout free agency, it seems a little bit more unlikely that Miami is ultimately going to sign any of those three players, but we'll discuss it all on today's show. Before we get into the nits and grits of today's show, make sure you hit that like button. We're at the end of the month of March, and we are trailing a little bit in our March-like battle. We're taking care of business against the Jets and Bills channel here, but we're trailing both Steelers and Chiefs. Hit that thumbs up icon. Would be greatly appreciated. We also are trying to take down and climb this Chat Sports leaderboard. All right, the reason why I wanted to share more free agency updates for the Dolphins is because they do have a little bit more cap space to work with. And in case you missed our show that we put out on Saturday afternoon, which basically broke down this entire message from Barry Jackson, Miami has more cap space to work with. They originally signed quarterback Zach Wilson to be the backup to Tua on a one-year, $6 million deal worth up to $10 million. But they actually kind of changed his contract to provide some void years over the next couple of seasons, which means he's getting paid when he's not under contract, but it provides Miami with more cap space for this free agency period where they currently now have $21 million in cap space per over the cap. So a lot of people have speculated they could be using this cap space to sign an exterior free agent because you need to keep about $10 to $12 million heading into the draft plus flexibility. So who are they going to sign? Either one or two players that get them from $21 to $12 million. Well, many of us think that it could be Asante Samuel Jr., and we'll talk about his free agency update here first out of these three free agents because it actually seems more and more likely that it won't be Asante Samuel Jr. joining the Miami Dolphins because after doing some deep internet research, and I got to be honest, this is kind of embarrassing that I'm on this right now, but I got onto Vikings Twitter. I was doing some looking into Asante Samuel Jr., and according to SKOR North, who covers the Minnesota Vikings, 50,000 plus followers on Twitter, there are deep rumors that Asante Samuel joined with Minnesota. What do I mean by that? Well, apparently, Asante Samuel Jr. was in a club in Fort Lauderdale, where he is from, and apparently he was wearing a Minnesota Vikings hat in the club. And this group of people went up and asked Asante who he was. Did he play for the Vikings? And he said, well, technically not official until 5 weeks from now. And he introduced himself as Asante. That text got texted to the content creators at SKOR North, and that's where we stand right now. So Samuel Jr. might be a Minnesota Viking. And you might be asking, well, why would this be the case? Why would it say, or he say, well, it's not going to be official until 5 weeks from now? Well, that lines up until after the NFL draft, and Vikings Daily does point out here that if Asante Samuel Jr. signed with the Vikings or any team following the NFL draft, so on Monday, April 28th, it now does not affect the compensatory pick formula by the NFL, which means the Vikings or any team that signed him wouldn't get charged for the 2026 NFL draft. So I'll be honest, although this is deep rumors and it's not a lot of credibility here because who knows how accurate that text was sent to the content creators at SKOR North, but I do understand at least the comp pick formula side of this thing. And this would stink if you're the Miami Dolphins because to me, he's clearly the top free agent available. He's 25 years of age. He's been in this league for 4 years now. He's had some good years for the Chargers, and he would immediately slot in as that number 2 starting corner next to Jalen Ramsey. Then it would be a pretty solid cornerback room. Last year was Kendall Fuller. This year it could be Asante Samuel Jr. Kato Kohu returns to be your nickel guy. We've talked about this position at depth. You need to find a way to get a serviceable starting CB2, whether it's high in the draft or whether it's in free agency, because Storm Duck, Cam Smith, Ethan Bonner, and Artie Burns just simply aren't that. And Samuel Jr. is playing 50 career games. Yeah, he has battled injuries here and there, but he has been very good when on the football field. A completion percentage only allowed of 63.7, a QB rating under 100. Yeah, that will play pretty nicely. Obviously, has NFL ties when his family. He is a very good football player that would complement the Miami Dolphins very, very well. But what say you? Is Asante Samuel Jr. going to sign with the Minnesota Vikings? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. After hearing the deep rumors, which way do you lean? Is it true or is it not? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Well, if Asante Samuel Jr. is off the board, where is Miami ultimately going to go the rest of the offseason at the cornerback 2's position? Well, the top 2 free agents would immediately become Stephon Gilmore and Rasul Douglas, 2 players that I could absolutely foresee signing with the Dolphins, but also waiting after the NFL draft to see what kind of areas open up and it doesn't affect the comp pick formula as well. Obviously, an NFL draft pick could be a solid backup option, whether they take a first-round corner like Will Johnson or Jahdae Barron at 13, or take one early in round 2 at 48, and Maxwell Harrison, Siobhan Revel, Benjamin Morrison. There's other guys like Trey Amos as well. Those are some other backup options for the Dolphins, and I would be intrigued to see if they spin the block on Stephon Gilmore after the NFL draft. Talked about this the other day. I think it could be a good idea. All right, let's go from corner to safety now, and let's provide a Julian Blackmon update, someone that if you've been subscribed to the channel, you should be very familiar with because I talked about him a ton before the free agency period opened. And the Dolphins absolutely need to add another safety to this room. I like Ifeatu Melifonwu. I like Ashton Davis. I'm intrigued to see what Patrick Morris can do in year 2. And they brought back Elijah Campbell for special teams, plus being that 4th, 5th DB. But it's clear that the Dolphins need to add another safety because there is just no way that I feel comfortable taking Melifonwu and Ashton Davis as your 2 starting safeties at the start of the season. Like, I like the 2. I think they're going to be excellent complementary pieces and depth guys, but they cannot be your 2 starting safeties. They simply can't. So Julian Blackmon is the ideal free agent add because he is the top player at the position in free agency alongside Justin Simmons, but I would prefer Julian Blackmon. Well, the interesting update on him, and this came out last week, is that he's actually visiting the Carolina Panthers. Now, this happened, if you look at the date, March 24th. It's March 30th, so this is almost a full week ago, and obviously Blackmon is either weighing his options or the visit did not go as well as you would think, because if it did go that well and Blackmon was all in, the Panthers were all on him, well, it'd probably be done. It's 6 days after the fact. Now, I am a big fan of Julian Blackmon. Yeah, he's a little bit undersized, but I think he is a good football player. And if you go back and watch our content on the channel, you would know that I actually wanted him as one of the top free agent targets. I went through my perfect free agency, and it included Julian Blackmon, it included James Daniels, it included Will Fries. Well, obviously, Fries didn't happen. James Daniels did. Blackmon is still sitting out there in free agency. A smaller statured safety that could play in the nickel, could play as your free safety, roaming type of guy, takes the ball away. Blackmon is someone that I really like, and I've wanted him for a while. Like I just mentioned it. If you go back on the channel and look at our perfect free agency video, you would see him being on there as someone that I am targeting because I just envision him working with Anthony Weaver in this Dolphins defense so well, and I do not think he would be expensive. Originally, I thought it might cost you 3 years, $24 million, the same contract they gave to James Daniels. Well, the fact that he's still sitting out there in free agency, I think it would be even cheaper. I think they'd be able to get him potentially on a 1-year, $4 or $5 million deal, almost similar to Ifeatu Melifonwu. I would now be willing to do that for 2 years, 11, 2 years for $12 million. I think that would be a very opportunistic signing for the Miami Dolphins. We'll ultimately see if they do it. But that is why you subscribe to the channel, because we have daily content on the Miami Dolphins. We're on the road to 69,000 subscribers. Very nice. But I had mentioned it. If you were subscribed over the past 2 months, you would know how much I like Julian Blackmon, and we've done breakdowns on him in depth over the past couple of months. All right, and I want to kind of round up the safety conversation with this. I love Julian Blackmon, if you can't tell. But the way that I foresee this offseason unfolding for the Dolphins when it comes to the safety room is that they are not going to sign another one. we showed the cap space earlier. They might sign 2 guys in free agency. If they sign 2, I think it would be a corner, and I think it would be an offensive lineman / defensive lineman. It would be one of those 3 positions. I do not think they are going to go safety. I think they are going to address safety in the NFL draft. I truly believe Chris Grier likes Melifonwu, likes Davis, likes McMorris, and believes adding a rookie in the first 4 rounds, remember the Dolphins have 5 picks in the first 4 rounds, is going to be the way that they ultimately address this. So when you look towards the draft, these are the 8 top targets I think Miami could look at. And now I did remove Jahdae Barron from this list, a corner safety hybrid. These are the pure safeties in this draft class. Xavier Watts starts that day 2. Nick Emmanwori, who visited the Dolphins on a top 30 visit, is a first-round prospect. Same with Starks, but everyone else is day 2 and beyond. Watts is probably a second-round pick. Makuba is climbing up there as a second-round pick. You see the Penn State safeties, Jalen Reed and Kevin Winston, on day 2 in the second or third round. Same thing could be said for Jonas Sanker and Billy Bowman Jr. And Oklahoma safety is someone I'm starting to keep more of an eye on here as a potential option for the Dolphins with the 98th pick or in the middle 4th round, whereas they have multiple 4th-round selections. All right, we're going to get over to Brandon Scherff here, but make sure you're getting your Dolphins gear. Chatsports.com/Dolphins hoodie. You can get the sweet white Dolphins hoodie for $40 off. Yeah, 40. Usually $75, on sale right now for $35 at chatsports.com/Dolphins hoodie. That link's in the description and comments of today's video. Get yours today. All right, let's round out this Dolphins free agency update with Brandon Scherff, the offensive lineman that played for the Jacksonville Jaguars last season. The veteran is someone that I have really kept an eye on as a potential left guard starting player for the Dolphins. And that's really the only spot we have left on this offensive line. When you look at the group, it's almost completely set. You have your starting right side and your center, Aaron Brewer, James Daniels, Austin Jackson. You have depth pieces in Larry Borum, Liam Eichenberg, Andrew Meyer, and maybe one of these other players ultimately comes up and becomes that 9th guy on the offensive line. But you still need a starting left guard, and it cannot be Larry Borum or Liam Eichenberg. If that happens, I would rage. I think Scherff is a really good option, a veteran who has played a lot of football in his career. He's done it consistently. He is an excellent pass protector. He is not as good in the run game as in the pass game, and he is not as mobile as he once was because he is 33 years of age. But the reason why I like Brandon Scherff so much as a fit for the Dolphins is because he is such a good pass protector. And we've talked about how the Dolphins need to establish more of a physical identity on the interior offensive line, being able to run up the middle in short yard situations and run the football in these late November, December, January games. But he is an elite pass protector for the left guard position. He also provides stability to the left side of the O-line because I am a skeptical person of this. Even if they drafted a really solid rookie at 13 or 48 overall in the NFL draft, you are still going into the season with a rookie at left guard and a first-year starter at left tackle. That concerns me. Scherff would provide you stability in between Aaron Brewer and Patrick Paul on the left side of your offensive line. And yeah, he's 33 years old, but guess what? He's as durable as it comes. He has not missed a game in 3 seasons. 3! The Dolphins have consistently battled injuries on their offensive line, as well as almost every position group that they have. Scherff would come in and be someone that will be there week in, week out, and provide you a average to above average starting left guard and make your offensive line complete, allowing you to go to the defensive line, to the secondary, and then go to the offensive line in the middle rounds of the NFL draft, trying to hit on some of these mid-round guys. To me, Scherff is a great option for the Dolphins. And we've talked about 3 free agents that I really like for Miami, provide you updates on them and why they would fit in this Dolphins system. But let me know, who is your top Dolphins free agent target? Maybe it's one of the 3 people we've talked about today. Maybe it's someone else out there. Either way, let me know. Drop a name down in the comment section. I don't know if you've been able to tell, but I am very passionate about the idea of adding Brandon Scherff to the Miami Dolphins. I think it's a no-doubt hit for Miami. If I were Chris Grier and I were to close out this free agency period before getting to the NFL draft in late April, I would re-sign Calais Campbell on a 1-year, $6 million deal, and I would re-sign Brandon Scherff on a 1-year, $6 to $7 million deal as well. It cannot hurt. You get those 2 in the trenches, and let's roll into the NFL draft. Now, with Brandon Scherff, though, I do want to make this note, is that there is some Bengals buzz. It's not like Scherff has visited Cincinnati or anything like that, but there is a lot of buzz on Cincinnati Bengals Twitter as I was doing some looking around on social media today that they could be interested in Scherff and they want to bring him in. So I want that to be clear. You got Asante Samuel Jr. being linked to Minnesota, Panthers visiting with Julian Blackmon, and Cincinnati Bengals talking or potentially targeting Brandon Scherff. And we'll have you covered throughout the entire process. We are about to enter the month of April, which means it's NFL Draft Month. Hit that sub button for daily Miami Dolphins coverage and the best NFL draft content when it comes to the Dolphins on YouTube. Join us today.